What is the latest going on with the Pac-12? We have got conflicting reports again. So who's right? As always, the answer lies in who benefits from the news being reported. At least we think anyway. Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports has spent a lot of time on this Pac-12 media rights negotiation as news has come in both from anonymous sources and quotes directly from conference presidents. On Wednesday night, Dodd released an article titled "Pac-12's Murky Future Finds Shred of Clarity with ESPN appearing out as option for primary media rights." We had heard rumors that ESPN might be out of the negotiations as far back as late February, but multiple sources confirmed with CBS that ESPN appears to be out as an option to take the Pac-12's primary media rights. Now, per Dodd's article, the situation developed at the Fiesta Summit spring meetings this past week when Big 12 officials were told by ESPN executives that its league was one of 3 conferences that the network would be airing in the future. ESPN currently has Power 5 agreements with the Big 12. Their new deal begins in 2025. The SEC, their new deal begins in 2024. And the ACC, which is an existing deal that goes through 2036. It has other college football deals as well, including one with the AAC that ends in 2030. A Big 12 administrator who decided he wanted to remain anonymous, or he or she wanted to remain anonymous, told Dodd this is the first time publicly that ESPN has said we're not doing anything with the Pac-12. All right. Obviously, the fact that this is coming from the Big 12, that's not ideal. You would like to hear this news from somebody actually involved in the negotiations or from ESPN, as they are the company we're talking about, right? Dodd's article states that the Pac-12 wants $200 million for their Tier 1 content, which would likely be categorized as a minimum of 2 games a week across 14 weeks. That's $7 million per game. I don't know that ESPN wants to spend $200 million a year on the Pac-12, especially with the NBA, UFC, and the college football playoff all coming up on the horizon. In a way, it's a little bittersweet that the Pac-12 did finally get more access to the CFP, because the price that those rights will demand could be what keeps the Pac-12 from getting a better TV deal. Like, ESPN would certainly be more willing to pay $200 million for like 4 playoff games than they would for 28 Pac-12 games. Notre Dame is asking for more than $10 million per home game in their next deal, and the Pac-12 can't get a linear network to pay $7 million per game right now. So let's look again at the sourcing. The news that ESPN is out on the Pac-12, who does that help? Almost certainly the Big 12. Your Mark obviously wants some of the Pac-12 to join the Big 12, whether that's the 4 corner schools or Oregon and Washington, whatever. He wants that 4th television window in a bad way. But after Dodd's article came out, Ross Dellenger tweeted from the Pac-12 conference meetings, a note from conference meetings in Scottsdale, ESPN remains in negotiations with the Pac-12 for its primary TV package. Multiple sources tell Sports Illustrated. In fact, the league and network held discussions as recently as today. Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic tweeted the exact same thing, said ESPN remains a bidder for the Pac-12's Tier 1 rights, a source tells The Athletic, and then she followed that up with the Pac-12 and ESPN met as recently as today. So this is now Schrodinger's cat of media rights negotiations. ESPN being a part of the deal is both alive, ESPN being a part of the deal is both alive and dead until the deal gets done. Now, who would benefit from the news that ESPN is still involved? Obviously, the Pac-12. The more people at the table, the better chances of getting the amount of money that they want. Auerbach and Dellenger's reports obviously came from the Pac-12, so the news is coming from the Big 12, who wants to expand with West Coast schools, and the Pac-12, who is trying like hell to get a good media rights deal in order to stay competitive in the college football market. But what about this? What if ESPN is telling the Big 12 the truth, that they're definitely not going to be taking the Pac-12 rights, but they failed to mention that they only meant at the current price? What if ESPN can get the Tier 1 rights for $150 million per season, and then you've got another streamer, whether Apple or Amazon or whatever, they grab all of the Tier 2 and Tier 3 rights for like $120 million. That gets the Pac-12 to $270 million per season, or $27 million per school. If the Big 12 is getting over $31 million per school, that only puts the Pac-12 schools at a little more than 10% below the Big 12. In that case, I don't think anybody's going anywhere. Dodd's article also states speculation that NBC Universal, specifically the USA Network, could be involved, which, again, the Pac-12 could get more money out of NBC if NBC believes that ESPN is still at the table. These conflicting reports are driving me insane, okay? If you're the Pac-12, would it be better to take $175 million from USA Network for Tier 1 rights or $150 million from ESPN? Or since both of those are on cable, what about, let's say, Nexstar, who owns the CW? What if they came to the table with $160 million for the Tier 1 rights? That's network television. It's over-the-air TV for which you don't need a cable subscription. Like, I know this. There does not appear to be an end in sight for these Pac-12 media rights negotiations. We are now into May, and there's been no substantial news one way or the other, or at least anything that you feel like you can trust. Like, all of this is still mind-blowing to me. I'm perplexed. I keep seeing these articles. I keep seeing sources say, but at this point, who are the sources? I don't know that I'm going to believe anything until we get an actual report out from the Pac-12 that says, hey, here's what we got done. Or when we hear, hey, so-and-so is leaving for the Big 12. Because that's the way it appears that it's headed right now. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.